Joe Biden has a stark warning to Americans, that means us, as he accepts his Lifetime Achievement Award in Boston.
In my over 50 years in elected public life, this is the worst I've seen it. Because truth be told, our very democracy is at stake in my view. Friends, I can't sugarcoat any of this. These are dark days.
Here to react is outnumbered co-host and host of the Faulkner Focus, Harris Faulkner. Dark days. I'll tell you dark days. Let's just go back in the Wayback Machine a year, right? Economy was a mess. We had open borders. He could barely lead and barely speak.
You know, during that, he talked about his 50-plus years in service, and it kind of was confounding, I thought, because a generation is 25 years. That means in 2 generations, he's not happy with where we arrived. Well, what did he situation and farther to the left with his policies, and then he became almost irrelevant to his own party, which is why they replaced him with Kamala Harris on the ticket. She couldn't win either because those policies were still in place. So my big question for him is, why would he want to remind anybody what he put the nation through? We lived it, and I don't think he helps his party, but you know what? Let him keep talking. Let him remind that he broke our border. He broke our physical sovereignty in this country with those open border situations, and then let all those drugs flow in. I mean, we have people dying still because of what he did. But he wants to brag about his 50-plus years as a congressman, a senator, a president. But yet we arrived in such a hurt place under him.
So now the DOJ, the House is asking the DOJ to open up an investigation. Yeah. This is what they said. The committee deemed votive actions that were signed using the autopen, and the committee determined that the actions by the Department of Justice is warranted to address the legal consequences of that determination. They're all in.
They're all in, and Democrats would really rather they just move on. They don't really have a message right now, so they don't want this to become the message that the last guy who was a Democrat, who was leading the country, although rather opaquely behind the cover of people who we may never know who were radical in their policies. Mm-hmm. They don't want that to be the legacy. They can't replace it with anything. So they really want this to go away. They've gotten very quiet, but the whole country needs to know what we witnessed. We were told that we were wrong about what we were covering and what we saw, what we lived through. A precipitous decline that was so effective for him that it took him out of office. It made him not be able to do what he needed to do. But the people in America deserve the truth. We empower them to make great decisions, all of us as voters, with the truth empowering us. It is never too late to do something great. Right. Let's get the answers. How bad was it behind the scenes with Joe Biden? Who was running the country? And if you don't want to drop names, can you tell us what he did and didn't do? Because when they dig into the autopen, if he broke one iota of a rule, those things he touched don't stick. And we need to know what they are. Are they some of the pardons? What is it? So I'm excited for this moment because it brings us to what we all need, and that's the truth.
Well, KJP says he was fine. He was 100%. Right. So she's the one holding out.
She's got a book to sell.
And if you don't want to be brought back, Kamala Harris should stop her book tour, KJP should stop her book tour, and Joe Biden should stop speaking. Meanwhile, there's a new book out. I'm sure you're going to be covering this on your show, Harris. It's called Retribution by Jonathan Karl. And here's an excerpt. It says, Donald Trump and the campaign changed America. He says, Pelosi, this is the moment that they decided that Biden's and Pelosi endorsed Harris, leaving Obama miffed. A source close to Obama told Karl that the former president wasn't actually angry at Pelosi, but the source close to the California congressman remembered it differently, believing that Obama sounded genuinely irritated, using the 4-letter word a senior Biden advisor told Karl. Obama didn't think the vice president could win, and he used an expletive to describe that. Keep in mind, Kamala Harris, to her credit, collected all the delegates. By the time Biden made the announcement and the endorsement, there was no maneuverability. Obama was the one late, and if you're on the Democratic side, you should credit Pelosi for even doing anything, because no one else, everyone sat there catatonic.
So now that we all know this, it does beg the question, he was feckless in helping her. And I often wondered, was it on purpose? I mean, he had an opportunity to help deliver the black vote for her. That's why they called him in to help Kamala Harris. And practically arms akimbo, he was lecturing black men about how they didn't love her enough. That's why they wouldn't vote for her. Was some of that on purpose? Look, it's a valid question now that we know that maybe he feels left out.
Right. I just know one thing. His biggest nightmare is Donald Trump as president. And even behind the scenes, I think that's why he's still in Washington, to try to upend Donald Trump.
So it's interesting. Biden's decline forced his irrelevancy. For Obama, it's everything he was doing. So you're right. That's a lot more frustrating.
Right.
It's not like he's fading away.
No.
He's still running in place and trying to get stuff done. Look, at the end of the day, just tell us more. Tell us everything we need to know about this situation. Democrats are in trouble right now. Republicans have a unique opportunity, and they are delivering on some things. But right now, that shutdown is showing everybody who the people in the room are.
So true.
Yeah.
Thanks, Harry.
So let's get this straight. At a Lifetime Achievement Award ceremony in Boston, Joe Biden used the podium to declare these are dark days and that our very democracy is at stake. That wasn't a moment of humility. It was a drive-by on the current administration wrapped in applause lines. It's also rich, coming from a man whose own tenure helped produce many of the conditions he's now lamenting. First, the optics. An acceptance speech is supposed to be about service, gratitude, and unity, not a partisan homily. When the former president turns an award night into a political broadside, you don't look statesmanlike. You look small. The office you held is bigger than your grudges, and the audience, whether they agree with you or not, didn't show up to be told the republic is teetering on the edge. Again, because it suits your narrative. Second, spare us the amnesia. During Biden's years in the office, Americans lived through persistent inflation pain, a border crisis that local leaders across the map called unsustainable, and a pattern of messaging that told people not to believe what they were seeing with their own eyes. You don't get to talk about dark days as if you had no hand in the dimmer switch. Third, credibility. This speech lands the same week questions about who was really making and formalizing presidential decisions were back in headlines. Because of the autopen controversy. Yes, autopen signatures have been legally permitted for certain presidential acts for years. Office of Legal Counsel blessed it and presidents have used it. But the current issue isn't is an autopen ever allowed. It's whether the process around Biden's autopen usage on sensitive acts like pardons or orders reflected his informed personal decision, or an insulated staff pipeline doing government by proxy. Even mainstream coverage has framed it as an oversight fight about transparency and knowledge, not just the machine itself. The more this looks like staff-driven, the worse the guardians of democracy storyline sounds. Here is the bottom line. Statesmanship is restrained. If you want to be the elder voice in the room, you model calm, not performative doom at a gala. Accountability runs both ways. If you insist the country is in peril, be candid about the policy choices and management style that got us here, including opaque decision-making rituals that now require congressional and DOJ review to untangle. Trust his hand with process, not speeches. The autopen by itself isn't the scandal. The chain of custody for presidential will is. Americans deserve to know that the signature ink or autopen really reflect the president's mind, not a committee's convenience. For context, by the way, DOJ's Office of Legal Counsel has previously said an autopen can be used. But the whole question hinges on whether it's truly the president's decision. That's the crux today. So no, this wasn't a courageous warning from a retired statesman. It was a selective memory play, and it lands poorly against the unresolved questions about how his White House actually operated. If you helped set the stage, you don't get to heckle from the wings and call it heroism.